My name is Genevieve Smythe. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in Vermont, and I'm going to walk you through two important documents that you'll see when we're starting to work together. Loop. This is a software we use to host our documents that require signing. You'll see this throughout your home buying process, first with documents that we will sign together, and then this is where we will also draft offers, and as we work through a closing, you will continue to come back to Loop to review and sign information. So to start out, the first thing that we're going to look at is the mandatory consumer disclosure. This is not a contract. This is a disclosure of information that is provided by the state of Vermont to clarify some important terminology that is used commonly in real estate. And at this moment, you are not a client. Regardless of the fact that you are not a client, a real estate agent still must act in certain ways. Real estate agents must always disclose all material facts. So anything that we know about the condition of a property, the condition of a neighborhood, things that might affect the quality or price of a property, we must disclose to any individuals interested in property, whether or not they are a client. We must always be honest. We cannot give false or misleading information. We must account for all money and property received. This particularly pertains to contract deposits, which are often held by a buyer or seller's brokerage. And we must comply with all state and federal laws related to the practice of real estate, which is a highly regulated industry for the safety of all involved. The disclosure then moves on to discuss that you may become a client. Becoming a client is done by signing a brokerage agreement, which is the next document that I'll show you, with a real estate brokerage firm licensed in the state of Vermont. When an individual, couple, or family becomes clients of a real estate agent, there are additional duties owed to those people beyond the basics, which we discussed above. So those additional things are confidentiality, including of bargaining information. So things like how much you're willing to spend on a house. That is information that you should only disclose to a real estate agent who is representing you. That agent cannot share that information. Next is promotion of clients' best interest. So real estate agents act as fiduciaries. That means that I am working for your best interest, not for my own best interest. Very similar to a financial advisor who always must operate with the client's interest in mind, never with their own. Advice and counsel. So that means we can make recommendations about properties to see, how much to offer, terms to put into an offer. These are all very specific things that a real estate agent who knows you well, who is representing you, can provide specific advice beyond just general information about the market, which we can provide to anybody. This advice is tailored to you and your situation. And then lastly, assistance in negotiations. So this sort of pulls together the first three things, in that we are negotiating on your behalf for your best outcome, given the information that you have provided to us in order to do that in the best, most faithful way possible. You are not required to hire a brokerage firm for the purchase or sale of Vermont real estate. You can represent yourself, whether you are selling your home, whether you are buying your home. You are free to represent yourself just in the same way that you can file your own taxes, you can represent yourself in court. It is always an option. Most people prefer to be represented by a professional with experience in the industry who can provide them additional advice and service, but that is completely your choice. If you work with a brokerage firm, as you would expect anytime you're hiring a professional services agency, compensation is due for those professional services rendered. When we get into the contract, we'll discuss much more specifically how that compensation is rendered to the agency. In the state of Vermont, brokerage firms may elect to be either non-designated or designated agencies. In a non-designated agency, this is saying that the brokerage as a whole represents each client who is signed to be represented by that brokerage. So this is common with brokerages that have 1 to 3 agents and they work as a small team together. Everyone represents all of the same clients. Not designated agency is when a larger brokerage, such as Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Vermont Realty Group, designates individual real estate agents to represent each client. So in this case, you would be represented by me specifically, not by every agent of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Vermont Realty Group. This is very important for larger brokerages because it is very common to come into a situation where I may be representing you as a buyer and another Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Vermont Realty Group agent is representing the seller of that property. There is not a conflict of interest in this situation because between agents, we are not sharing confidential information. So you can look at properties that are being listed by Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Vermont Realty Group. You can look at properties listed by other brokerages, and we can look at for sale by owner properties together. This signature is just acknowledging that you have seen this disclosure. Again, this is not a contract. Signing here simply means you have reviewed the information that has been provided to you. To sign in .loop, you simply hover your mouse and click sign now.